What's up, guys? Welcome back. This is episode 2 of our new sports show, The Rams Club. Guys, today we have a lot of exciting news to share with everyone, and then we have a field hockey captain interview, which is going to be very interesting. You'll hear more about them and their comeback from an 0-5 season, looking to revive and make playoffs. And then we have the play of the week, which is also another great play of the week. So stay tuned for that. Starting off, we're going to talk about boys football. Will, you want to recap Ludlow, your most recent win?
Yeah, so against Ludlow, we opened up the game with an explosive touchdown the first play. Alex Benevento, we were in a jumbo set, just took off untouched into the end zone, and then that was the story the rest of the game. We ended up winning 43-0 with about 2 minutes left in the second quarter. Ludlow forfeited the game. So
right, I believe there was a rain delay too, right?
So it was a rain delay,
one of those
and
games
then they decided to forfeit, so you could say we made them quit after a half of football. Overall, it was a very good game. We had ran for 211 yards. Benevento had 4 carries for 124 yards and 3 touchdowns. And Cooper Smith also had 1 receiving touchdown in the game. It was on a running back screen. So overall, really impressive offensive game, and especially defense too. Michael Smith with 2 interceptions. Very impressive game all around.
Yeah, and obviously Windsor was a huge win for the football team. Even coming after that Shelton loss, you had that kind of bye week, we'll call it, with a lighter opponent, and then you come into a big Windsor opponent and you take them down 33-12. So let's talk a little bit about that O-line with the return of Reagan in that game, and this season moving Civet back to center. A lot of talented linemen. Robinson has a lot of room to throw the ball. What do you have on them?
Yeah, so Windsor was the first game that we really opened up the playbook. Luke Robinson attempted 15 passes that game. That was the most we've attempted thus far this season. And it obviously worked. He threw 2 passing touchdowns, 1 to Reed and 1 to Esposito. And then we also had a lot of yards on the ground with 161 yards and 2 touchdowns. But then you got to also talk about the defense. Defense let up 12 in the first half, but then didn't let up another point. And that's really what helped us win. We ended up winning 33-12. All around good game, and that's the game where I really think our offense turned around, because when you open up the playbook, now it forces the secondary to play both, not just the run.
Right.
So then you end up getting a secondary that has to play back, and you have a lot more things you can do.
Right, it just opens up what you can do on the field. All right, let's talk about volleyball. Right into it. Volleyball, obviously, Danielle, they've been one of those teams that it's either winning by a lot or kind of getting taken down by a few sets to none. So what do you have on them?
Yes, this year is definitely a rebuilding year for the Rams. They lost a lot of seniors. They only have a couple of them left this year. So they have a lot of new players and a new head coach Amy Warren, who is the boys volleyball head coach. She has a lot of experience, has taken the boys to FCX and states many times. So she definitely brings depth to the team. However, again, it is that rebuilding year. The girls are only 4-3 and 2-1 in the FCAC. And they have some really tough matchups coming up in the coming weeks. So they have a lot to work for and a lot to prove, as they are a young team and they have to make their mark now for the coming years.
Right, and with an overall record of 4-3, I think a big part of this season has been consistency and finding themselves in those key matchups. They had a 2-1 record in the FCAC, so they're doing pretty well. They lost to Staples 3-0, but beat Norwalk 3-1, and then lost to Southington 3-0. So it's a lot of these matchups kind of go one way or the other. One thing I did see, the Jonathan Law game was actually very fun to watch earlier this year. Check that one out on the NCTV YouTube. The Rams, I believe, went down 2-0 in the sets and then came back to win 3-2. So that was just a great game to watch. There was a ton of action. So make sure you look back on that one. And I think looking forward to this season, that's what the volleyball team's going to have to recreate and do, is get that kind of comeback if you're down 2 sets to none, and just keep momentum going forward. You got players like Gusage and some young talent that's kind of stepping up this year as upperclassmen and leading to this team's success.
Yeah, definitely a lot of promise for the future.
Now we'll move on to swim and dive, one of the sports we haven't covered as much this year with information. This time we got some more information for you guys. Danielle, what do you have on them?
Girls swim and dive this year, they're 1-2 after 3 meets, obviously. They lost their key diver, Caitlin Maggio, who got a lot of points on that side, and some really strong swimmers in Lily Dunn and Talia Shearer. This year's captains, Lauren Lee and Skylar Lee and Emma Peloso, they're looking to kind of fill that gap, as, again, they did lose a lot of strong people, but they do have another diver who just came in, Emma Kelly, and freshman Julie Frangione. So they definitely have a lot to look forward to.
Right.
Again, similar to volleyball, they are kind of a younger team. but these girls, they're dominating in their events still. They just kind of need to put more of those points on the board, get more top scores, I would say.
Right, and then obviously meet versus Darien Wednesday and Wilton on Friday. So Sam Haley is pumped for the Darien meet, excited to see their rival, as it's always a bit of a matchup, Buchanan and Darien in any sport, obviously. We also have soccer games this week, so very excited. Boys soccer, girls soccer versus Darien. I believe they call it the Rivals Cup.
Yep.
So that'll be very interesting. We'll now move on to golf, sport we love covering. Unfortunately, the season's kind of bounced back. They started off hot, and now they're 500. What do you have on them?
Yeah, the boys are now 4-4, unfortunately. There's a lot of talent. I mean, you have captain Patrick Sachs, Brooks Thompson, and George Ives. They're all playing really well. But as much as golf is a team sport at the high school, it's very individual. So if you have 3 guys that play really well, but the rest of the team doesn't, you're not going to be able to win many games. And that's kind of been the story recently. Kind of like swim and dive, they're just looking to put all the pieces together.
Right.
And from there, that's when they could have success. Because right now, with only these 3 players playing really well or at the top of their game, there's not enough there to win matches.
Right, and with veteran coaching from Bill Brown, I have no doubt they'll kind of come back and make that recovery. Obviously, with the home course advantage, we talk about a lot. New Canaan Country Club, a lot of guys are used to playing that over the summer or whatnot. So that definitely helps out the team.
Yeah, and the New Canaan Country Club, for at least competitive golf, it's a tough course. There's a lot of hazards that you can fall into, a lot of tough holes. I mean, the first hole at the Country Club is the 3 handicap, and that's a really tough hole to start out with.
Right.
So, there's just a lot that they can improve on, and I'm not worried, like you said, veteran coaching, and
Right.
There's a lot of talent there, so they'll be just fine.
Moving on, in my opinion, the most exciting sport this week, the one I was waiting to cover, field hockey, because they've kind of had a story that we've been tracking and started off 0-5. We were writing our stories and stuff like that for the main broadcast, and we're like, oh, this team's not going to be a team that's going to be doing much this season, maybe a little bit of a rebuilding year. They made playoffs last year, probably not going to make it this year, and right now they went from being 0-5 to 5-5. So this is a graphic of just what teams they've been playing, and that streak started off poorly, and then now they come in and they beat Cheshire, a 3-0 team, by a pretty good margin, and then moved on and beat 4 other teams in similar fashion. Looking ahead, they have some pretty hard games to follow. Wilton, Trumbull. Wilton kind of in a similar situation this season as them, so that'll be an interesting matchup. And then Trumbull, I think, could go either way. Trumbull's one of those teams that you don't know based off the people they played if they're going to be super good or maybe not the best team. So definitely looking forward to those matchups. And in a very short moment, we're actually having field hockey captains Izzy Appelt and Jane Holland on to speak about kind of what changes led to this momentum in the season and how maybe their leadership as seniors has improved their record to becoming 5-5 from 0-5, guys. I just think that's incredible. Mm-hmm. Starting off 0-5, the morale from a team being down 0-5. I don't know if you guys have ever played a sport being down 0-5. It's like you sometimes you don't want to be there. It's tough to make it to practice, and what these girls were able to do and turn the season around and get to this 5-5 record, putting themselves in a place for playoffs. And especially being in Class M this year, they definitely have that opportunity to step up and maybe win a state championship. Very excited, guys. That was segment 1 of our Rams Club, episode 2. Danielle O'Malley, Will Langford, myself, Gray Tomasco. We'll be back to you very shortly, where I'll be interviewing Jane Holland and Izzy Appelt. Thank you. What's up, guys? Welcome back to segment 2 of the Rams Club. This is episode 2. Here we have field hockey captains Izzy Appelt and Jane Holland. Today we're going to be talking about the change in their season. They started off 0-5, now they're 5-5. So obviously a big turnaround. Your team got off to a slow start this season. What steps did you guys take to spark this comeback?
I think as captains, we had to make a lot of changes based on how we wanted to approach our team in so many different aspects. We really started taking the intensity of practice up and emphasizing that, and I think that made a big difference in kind of our win streak, and also just kind of focusing on creating a more collaborative team environment where everyone feels involved and feels valued. That way, on the field, that's reflected, and I think that's been key to helping us win.
Similar to what Izzy said, we just started holding each other accountable and have said what we want to bring to the team and bring to the table and give everything we have to offer.
What upcoming games do you guys see as most important to continuing this streak? Obviously, you beat Cheshire, which was a 3-0 team, to have that first win. So what are kind of the upcoming games that you're looking to win?
In the next couple of weeks, we have big games against Wilton and Trumbull.
And Ludlow.
And Ludlow. And those are all competitive games. pretty much every year. So there'll be big wins for our team, and really if we can win those games, it'll be crucial to our postseason, which we're hoping will go well.
Who are some of the key players that have started to lead this trend of coming back? Obviously, it's some players return from injuries, stuff like that.
I think having Abby Diamond, who was previously injured earlier in the season, coming back made a complete change to our team. She's an incredible player, along with brings her own energy to the field that kind of radiates onto everyone. And I also think we have a lot of people who have stepped up this year. With Izzy Shue as forward, Hadley Walker's been playing really well. Catherine Haddad, Ronnie, and all people that are our first years on the team, but are making a large impact and really connecting with each other.
Right, and obviously you spoke about how practice has kind of picked up its intensity. Yeah. What's that like compared to maybe how preseason went?
In the beginning, it was more fun, and no one was really taking it that seriously. So we've started doing a lot of competition days and just really competing against each other. Even though we're teammates, we need to bring out the best in each other.
Yeah, I think we've kind of emphasized the idea that the best way to get better is to compete, and we push each other every practice, every time we step on the field to be our best.
And 5 games in, obviously starting off 0-5, the narrative for most people, or what they thought, was you guys were out of playoffs.
Yeah.
I think you were a game or 2 away from missing them. Now that you guys are kind of back in that race, do you know what you need to do to make both those playoffs?
If we continue to win the rest of our games, I think we're good.
Yeah, and I also think winning against Greenwich was crucial. That was pretty much our hardest game for the rest of the season, along with Wilton, it'll be a really big game. But winning that game was really crucial to our record and our standings. So I think that we'll be safe for playoffs, and I really am confident in the fact that in playoffs we will be able to, just based off the improvement we've already shown, we'll be able to do a lot better than as we've hoped in the beginning of the season.
And what are your guys' expectations as team leaders to senior players? Obviously this postseason, you want to win 2 championships. Do you think that's on the table?
Definitely. We've also moved down to Class M. So for states, for FCX, we'll be playing all the FCX team, but then for states, we're playing teams that aren't really in the FCX, so it's really just going to change, which I think is good. We're playing different people, so we're not facing the same teams over and over again.
Yeah, I think that we'll be having to travel a lot farther for our games, but we'll be playing new teams, and I do think that it'll pose a new opportunity for all of us to kind of challenge ourselves and not get necessarily in our heads about playing these teams that we've lost to previously.
And what was your guys' toughest matchup so far, in your opinion?
Probably Darien.
I'd say Darien was our toughest matchup, and they're such a talented team. Okay. But I think that was also one of our best games. We played really well in that game, and I do think that we matched what we would have hoped. Even though that was a loss, I was extremely proud of our team after. I do think Staples was a tough game for us. I don't think it was our best game, and I think we could have performed better, but I do think it was one of our hardest as well.
What do you think about the team dynamic? Obviously last year you guys came off a very successful season. How has last year's team dynamic been different from this year's dynamic?
We just lost a lot of returners, so I feel like, as we mentioned earlier, just the competitiveness was a bit of a loss, and just adjusting all the younger players and new players to being on a varsity sport and really knowing what it means to be on a varsity team.
Yeah, I think it's hard to put a group of 6 to 8 returners on a team with 16 or more new kids, and I think when none of those people have varsity experience, it takes a little longer to adjust to being on that type of competitive team and that level of play. But I think that's kind of what we've been adjusting to throughout the season.
Do you guys feel like there's a lot of pressure on your shoulders to finish off the season? You guys just had 5 games in a row. You're 5-0 in the last 5 games. Is there a lot of pressure to win the next few?
I definitely think there is, especially because in some ways our season is on the line. But I am confident that our team can do it. I think having that motivation is going to push us even further. So while there is pressure, I think it's good pressure. I think that it'll lead to the success of our team.
Yeah.
All right, and then last one before we leave, we'll do a fun question. Who on the team would you not let date your brother?
Izzy Shue.
Yeah, I might have to go with that too.
2 answers for Izzy Shue. That's it. Myself, Gray Tomasco, signing off here, segment 2. Thanks, guys. Izzy Appelt, Jane Holland, both the field hockey captains. Obviously, very excited, and we'll keep you guys updated on the news and how they're doing in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Gray.
Welcome back to segment 3 of episode 2 of the Rams Club, our brand new sports show. Myself, Gray Tomasco, to my left, Will Langford, to my double left, John Frieders. Today we have the Play of the Week segment. Very exciting, another soccer goal. We'll have Will break that down. The goal was by Emma Finnerty, by the assist by Summer. So a very amazing goal. We had 2 goals so far as our Play of the Weeks for soccer. Let's roll the clip.
So here we have the girls soccer team playing Wilton a couple nights ago. Ball in the middle of the field. Now passed up to the wing. Great play by Paige Place right there. We'll get more into it later. Crossed by Summer, an absolute great finish. That's pure class, as they say in the soccer world right there. The girls were playing Wilton that night. This game ended in a 1-1 tie. But that goal was a very crucial goal because it put them up 1-0. And let's go back to that Paige Place play. So Paige Place was offsides in that, but by letting the ball go, the play was able to continue because if she touched it, it would have been called back. For those of you who don't know what offsides is, it's just when an offensive player is the last player in between the goalie and there's no defender in between him or her and the goalie. So that was a great play. And then the cross was very nice and the finish was even better. And against a very strong Wilton team. So for the girls to tie, it was a pretty good game for them. And to go up 1-0 this early, that was a very crucial goal. Frieders, you got more on this?
Yeah, you just see the communication throughout the entire play there. You see the little feed, the touch pass to the corner, and then able to put the ball in front of the net. And if you're a goalie, you never want the ball in front of the net close to you. Like within 5 or 10 yards, you never want the ball there. So great communication there by the Rams, and then Finnerty with an easy put-in goal there.
Right, just a little touch pass. That's all you need to get that in after a great feed to the inside from Summer. So just obviously a very high IQ play that shows the girls have been practicing, putting in the work, and hopefully they'll continue some success this season. And obviously they're looking to get into the playoff race. So that clip was actually submitted through submission from our Instagram. So thank you to those.
Submit next week or whenever we send out the link again, because we would love multiple submissions.
Right, thank you to those for the submissions. And then in terms of closing out, guys, episode 2, this is our last segment. Closing out here, we started off with a general sports talk, talked about some highlighted sports, then we got into an interview with our captains from the field hockey team, Izzy and Jane. So great job by them just talking about kind of how the outlook of the season has been and kind of that dynamic of going 0-5 to 5-5. To me, it's incredible. I know I've been saying it the whole time, but it's just incredible what these girls have been able to do and kind of come back and look for a playoff race because obviously they are in the playoff race, and I think if anything not, they're the favorites. So myself, Gray Tomasco, partners here, Will Langford and John Frieders, signing out. Thank you.